Welcome to Stories on the Mat with Jan. Hi, I'm Jan Falconer. I'm a children's author of Suki Queen of Cats series and the Jan Time series. I'm a mum, an aunt and a grandmother. Through my books, ideas and practical tools, I help families and carers raise children to become confident learners. In this podcast, we'll be exploring learning, childhood, family life and those small moments that shape who children become. We'll share ideas, welcome guests, and I hope have a little fun along the way. Today, I'd like to begin with a simple thought. Before the age of 5, children are not just learning skills, they are learning what learning feels like. And that feeling stays. In those early years, we often look for progress, new words, new steps, new understandings. But something else is taking shape at the time. Something quieter, a sense of confidence, a willingness to try, or sometimes a hesitation that is much harder to see. What fascinates me is that this isn't simply something parents and educators notice. Oh no, it is something we now understand from the world of neuroscience. Researchers like Peter Huttenlocher showed that in the first few years of life, a child's brain forms connections at an extraordinary rate, far more than it will hold in adulthood. Work led by Jack Shonkoff has shown that by around the age of 5, the brain is already close to its adult size. These early experiences don't simply pass by. They help shape the architecture of the brain itself. And over the years, I've come to understand something else. Learning isn't only about what children know. It's about how they feel while they're learning. And I'll be honest, this isn't something I always understood. It's something I've learned through experience, through my observations, and sometimes through getting it wrong. I've learned it through years of watching children, working alongside them and sharing in their everyday discoveries at home, in classrooms, in ordinary moments that often look quite unremarkable. And also as a parent, an aunt, and now as a grandparent. Because beneath every activity, there's another question. Do they feel safe? Do they feel rushed? Do they feel seen or corrected before they've had time to explore? Because in these early years, learning isn't about getting everything right. It's about being willing to try. Just think about it. When a child learns to walk, it's not like that. First of all, they learn to roll over. Then they learn to pull themselves up. Then they learn to crawl. Then they learn to move gingerly around the furniture. Then they learn to stand. And then it's that first step to wobble, to fall, and to try again. They don't turn around after the first fall and think, I guess walking is not for me. Instead, they try and try and try again. It's the same with language. They listen. They experiment. They get it wrong. They try again. And what allows that to happen? It's not pressure, but a feeling that it's safe to try. And we now know something else too. Those small back and forth moments when a child reaches out and an adult responds. It's not just a nice interaction. They are building the brain. Developmental neuroscientist Charles Nelson III has helped us understand how early experiences shape the developing brain. He describes it similarly to Jack Sonkoff, which is serve and return interactions, a bit like tennis, moments that strengthen the brain's wiring. And of course, not every child's journey looks the same. Some children will walk later. Some speak differently. Some may not use words at all. And I learned this at a very early age in my life when I became an aunt at the age of 5. I had a beautiful nephew, but he was unable to speak. He had many disabilities. But he would pull himself up, look at me and smile and laugh, and we played. And that was his way of communicating. Clear, joyful, completely his own. Sadly, he passed away before turning 2, but I loved him very much. And I learning is not one path, it's not one pace, and it's not one outcome. What matters is whether a child feels safe and seen and able to connect in their own way. And perhaps that's why I've become more interested in the questions we ask children. For years, like many adults, I would ask, "What did you learn today?" And often that answer was wonderfully unhelpful. I'd hear, "Stuff," or sometimes, "Nothing." Recently, I asked one of my grandchildren what they'd learnt that day. I was expecting something like reading, letters, numbers, or perhaps even French. Oh no, instead, they thought for a moment and said, "I learnt that I don't like butter on my sandwiches." And the more I thought about it, the more I realised they were absolutely right. They learned something. They had tried something. They had discovered something about themselves. And perhaps that's the point. Children are learning all the time. Not just facts, not just skills, but preferences, relationships, confidence, curiosity, and how they feel when they encounter something new. Which is why sometimes a different question can open a different conversation. Not just, "What did you learn today?" but, "What made you smile? What surprised you? What did you enjoy?" Or perhaps, "What did learning feel like today?" Children remember the feeling of learning long after the lesson is forgotten. So when we think about learning, we might ask, what did it feel like for the child to learn? And perhaps this is just the beginning of understanding what learning really feels like. There's still so much to discover. And if this means something to you, there are simple ways to bring this into everyday moments. And I'm going to share more of those moments and ideas as we go along. So maybe, over the next few days, you might notice a child learning something new. And instead of asking what they learned, you might ask yourself a different question to pose. What does learning feel like for them? This is Stories from the Mat, a place to think, notice and begin. Thank you.